back to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I am going to be showing you guys how I freeze sweet corn and zucchini. You're kind of distracting from the intro, Ruby. Anyway, here in Indiana, it is the first week of August right now, and it's prime time for both zucchini and sweet corn. So I am trying to get as much in the freezer as I possibly can. So I thought I would just take you guys along and show you how I do that. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so we're going to start with zucchini, and I just have 3 zucchini that I am shredding up today. So I like to do this in small batches as I have a few extra zucchini on hand to use up, and you can see that these are pretty big. Really, it's best to use smaller zucchini because, as you'll see later, the large ones tend to have seeds, but that's okay. I'm still going to use these and they'll work perfectly fine. We just have to go through a few more steps before we can put them in the freezer. So I just chopped the ends off and I have already rinsed the zucchini, and then I am just slicing them up into smaller sections that are going to be a little bit more manageable when I go to shred them. So you can see here that this zucchini has a lot of seeds, and an easy way to get rid of those is just to take a spoon and scrape them all out. I love using zucchini in a lot of baked goods because zucchini is very moist and it retains a lot of water, and so it adds great texture to your baked goods without adding a lot of flavor, because zucchini on its own is kind of flavorless, which is what makes it so great for baking. And it's a much more nutritious way to add that moisture into your baked goods as opposed to adding more of a fat or something like that. Okay, so now that I have all of the seeds removed from the zucchini, I am just going to shred it up. And an easier way to do this is to actually use the shredding blade on a food processor. I do not have a shredding blade for my food processor, but I want to get one for this purpose because it just would make it go a lot faster. But I'm just using a grater. This one is from Pampered Chef, but you can use any grater that you have. And because I'm only doing 3 zucchini, it's not going to take me very long. So I'm just going to make sure everything is shredded up, and you don't have to peel zucchini for this. The skin on a zucchini is so thin that it really won't affect the texture at all by just leaving the skin on, which makes it really nice and very simple and quick. So now that all my zucchini is shredded, I am just prepping my freezer bags. So I just have freezer quart bags here, and I am just labeling them with what's in the bag. So 2 cups of shredded zucchini and the month and year. So zucchini will generally last up 10 to 12 months if it's preserved properly. I mean, you could probably even use it for a little bit over a year since it's been in the freezer. So I like to try to use it up within the first year. So that's one reason why I don't need a ton of zucchini, because I generally use 2 cups of zucchini in all of my recipes, which is why I'm doing it in 2-cup increments here. And I really only make a zucchini recipe like zucchini bread or zucchini cookies probably once a month. So really 12 quart bags will be enough to probably last me throughout the year, so I don't need a ton. And from 3 large zucchini, I think I got 10 cups, so 5 quart bags full. So I will probably do this another time or two before the summer's over, and people are generally wanting to get rid of zucchini, so it's usually easy to find them and take it off somebody's hands who isn't going to use it. So what I'm doing now is just bagging it up, and this is a little trick I like to use with a quart jar to just make bagging a lot cleaner. So I just take my bag, roll it over a wide mouth jar, and then just use a spoon and a measuring cup to measure out my shredded zucchini, put it in the bag. I make sure all of the air is out of it, and then I just seal it up and press it flat so that it freezes nice and flat and easy to store. And that's it. Then I just pop it in the freezer. All right, so now we are getting into sweet corn. And sweet corn is one of my all-time favorite side dishes, especially throughout the fall and winter. So when it's in season, I like to stock up and get as much in the freezer as possible. So the first step in freezing sweet corn, as you can probably guess, is husking all of the corn. And husking is definitely the most time-consuming part of the entire process. So I recommend doing this with a group of friends or with your family so that you have someone to talk to, and it definitely makes the time pass a lot quicker. So on this day, I was actually over at my parents' house, and I was working with my mom and my aunt to get all of the corn done while my dad babysat Ruby for a little bit. So as you can see, we are just husking all of the corn, making sure to get all of the silk off. And this was my first time using a desilking brush, which I found actually at a local Amish store, but I'll link a similar one that you can get on Amazon below. And I really actually liked it. It made getting the silk off a lot easier, and it was definitely a lot quicker. So it was pretty inexpensive, and I liked it, so I recommend checking it out. Sometimes you'll find an ear of corn that has a little bad spot in it, so I recommend just keeping a cutting board and a knife nearby so you can just chop off that bad part as you find it so you don't have to deal with it later. So now that all of our corn is husked, it's time to blanch it. And some people don't like to blanch their sweet corn before freezing it. It's totally up to you. You can just cut it off the cob and put it into the freezer raw if you prefer. But I really like to blanch it because it makes it a lot quicker when you go to serve the corn, because all you have to do is pull it out of the freezer, defrost it, and then heat it up on the stove. I like to add a little bit of butter and salt, and it's ready to go. I don't want to have to cook the corn before I serve it. So that's why I prefer blanching, but it's totally up to you. So we have a big stock pot full of boiling water, and we're just adding a few ears of corn at a time to the boiling water and letting them cook for 5 minutes. You can experiment with the cook time a little bit. Some people like to cook it for more than 5 minutes. Some people like to cook it for less. So just experiment and find what works for you and how long you need to cook it to get the texture that you like. After the corn has been boiling for 5 minutes, we use a pair of tongs to remove the ears of corn from the water, and we put them directly into an ice water bath. And we let the corn sit in the ice water for another 5 minutes. This just stops the cooking and cools down the corn so that it's easy to handle for the next step. So we are just going to briefly drain the corn before we move on to the cutting step. And in this video, we are using a tool called a corn cutter and creamer. I will link one below in the description box, but it makes it really, really easy to remove the kernels from the cob. And what's really nice about this tool is that you can choose whether you want the corn to be a creamed texture, which is what we went with, which means that it kind of breaks the kernel down a little bit and releases more of the juice, so you get that creamy consistency. Or you can also remove the shredding piece on the blade, and you can just take off the whole kernel. So it's totally up to you. It's just a matter of personal preference and what you want the texture of your corn to be like. So I'm actually recording my mom in this clip, and she has been doing this for many, many years. She is a pro at freezing sweet corn and a pro at using this corn cutter. So don't be discouraged if you're kind of a little clumsy and slow when you first start using it, because I definitely was. It takes a little bit to get the hang of it and to learn how to apply pressure so that you can do it really quickly. So if you're a little clumsy at first, just push through and pretty soon you will be super fast. So all that's left to do now is to bag the corn up. So I am just using the same technique with the wide mouth jar that I showed you earlier with the zucchini. This just helps keep things a little bit cleaner. It is sweet corn, so you will make a mess. It's just kind of part of it. And sweet corn can be very sticky, so just FYI, you want to clean up very soon after you finish the freezing process, or you will have a sticky mess in your kitchen. But I am going to just double bag this because the sweet corn is really juicy, and I definitely don't want a bag breaking in the freezer because that can cause a huge mess. So when you're working with something as watery and juicy as sweet corn, I do recommend double bagging. So that's it for today's video, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it and that it was helpful for you. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up. And I do have a lot more canning and freezing to do in the next month or two. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss future videos. I hope that you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.